do we have an example? Can you cite a specific example of an object that can't be explained as having been human-made or natural?
The example that I would say that is still unresolved, that I think everyone understands quite well, is the 2004 incident from Nimitz. We have data on that, and it simply remains unresolved.
The first congressional hearing on UFOs for more than 50 years took place this week.
Since the early 2000s, we have seen an increasing number of unauthorized and or unidentified aircraft or objects in military-controlled training areas and training ranges and other designated airspace. Reports of sightings are frequent and continuing.
It is the Department's contention that by combining appropriately structured, collected data with rigorous scientific analysis, any object that we encounter can likely be isolated, characterized, identified, and, if necessary, mitigated.
It was an opportunity for lawmakers to question defense officials on reports of what are now termed unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, and the risks they pose to national security.
There have been no collisions between any U.S. assets and one of these UAPs, correct?
We have not had a collision. We've had at least 11 near misses, though. Any given observation may be fleeting or longer. It may be recorded or not. It may be observable by one or multiple assets. In short, there's rarely an easy answer. For example, let me share with you the first video that we have here today, which shows an observation in real time. There it was. That's, in many cases, that's all that a report may include.
But while analysts have been unable to explain what we're looking at here, Mr. Bray says that in most cases there is an explanation.
They likely fall into one of 5 potential explanatory categories: airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomena, U.S. government or U.S. industry developmental programs, foreign adversary systems, or a other bin that allows for a holding bin of difficult cases and for the possibility of surprise and potential scientific discovery.
The previous government effort to catalogue UFOs was called Project Blue Book, which was shut down in 1969. Fast forward to 2017, and Congress learned that the Department of Defense had quietly restarted a similar program.
Last year, Congress rewrote the charter for that organization, now called the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group.
That same year, 2021, a report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence was released, which highlighted over 100 reported UAP sightings between 2004 and 2021.
Last year's report also said that of those 144, 18 of them reportedly appeared to exhibit unusual flight characteristics, appear to demonstrate advanced technology, and some of them appeared to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. That's pretty intriguing.
I think I would, without discernible means of propulsion, I would say that we're not aware of any adversary that can move an object without discernible means of propulsion.
Hypersonic missiles travel at 5 times the speed of sound. Military tech both China and Russia have been experimenting with. But the 2021 report does not conclude that these countries are responsible for the sightings.
I would simply say that there are a number of events in which we do not have an explanation, in which, and there are a small handful in which there are flight characteristics or signature management that we can't explain with the data that we have.
My gosh. We're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
The new group's methodology relies heavily on data captured from multiple devices and sensors, and often on different occasions, which enables them to better reach a conclusion as to what's been witnessed.
In this video, U.S. Navy personnel recorded what appears to be triangles, some flashing, recorded several years ago, off the coast of the United States. This was recorded while the U.S. Navy ship observed a number of small unmanned aerial systems in the area. And importantly, the video was taken through night vision goggles with a single lens reflex camera. These remained unresolved for several years. Several years later, and off a different coast, U.S. Navy personnel, again, in a swarm of unmanned aerial systems, and again through night vision goggles and an SLR camera, recorded this image. But this time, other U.S. Navy assets also observed unmanned aerial systems nearby, and we're now reasonably confident that these triangles correlate to unmanned aerial systems in the area. The triangular appearance is a result of light passing through the night vision goggles and then being recorded by an SLR camera.
Understandably, some of the questions put to defense officials couldn't be answered publicly, to be picked up in a closed, classified session afterwards.
Do we have any sensors underwater to detect on submerged UAPs? Anything that is in the ocean or in the seas?
So I think that would be more appropriately addressed in closed session, sir.
Okay. Have our encounters with UAPs altered the development of either our offensive or defensive capabilities, or even our sensor capabilities?
We'd save that for the closed session.
But one congressman did take a pushier approach. Michael Gallagher referenced reports that UAPs had been interacting with and flying over sensitive military facilities, including those, quote, housing strategic nuclear forces.
One such incident allegedly occurred at Malmstrom Air Force Base, in which 10 of our nuclear ICBMs were rendered inoperable. At the same time, a glowing red orb was observed overhead. I'm not commenting on the accuracy of this. I'm simply asking you whether you're aware of it and whether you have any comment on the accuracy of that report.
Let me pass that to Mr. Bray. You've been looking at UAPs over the last 3 years.
That data is not within the holdings of the UAP task force. We have not looked at that incident.
Well, I would say, it's a pretty high-profile incident. I don't claim to be an expert on this, but that's out there in the ether. You're the guys investigating it. I mean, who else is doing it?
If something was officially brought to our attention, we would look at it. There are many things that are out there in the ether that aren't officially brought to our attention.
So how would it have to be officially brought to your attention? I'm bringing it to your attention.
Sure, so.
This is pretty official.
Sure.
Given it's been 50 years since the last congressional hearing related to UFOs, it's probably fair to say that this week's public testimony raised more questions than gave answers.
We have our questions. We want to know what's out there as much as you want to know what's out there. We get the questions not just from you, we get it from family members. And we get them night and day, not just in committee hearings. So finding what's out there is important. But first and foremost, it's important for us to do that so that we can ensure that our people, our personnel, our aviators, our bases and installations are safe. And then that curiosity factor is something else that we just want to know, because that's the human race. It's just, that insatiable desire to know.